Powerful dialogue rarely says exactly what it means. Think about the conversations that stay with you long after you finish reading. The characters almost never announce their true feelings. Instead, they speak in angles and tangents. They circle their real concerns while appearing to discuss something else entirely. And the reader does the work of decoding what is actually happening beneath the words. That decoding is where the energy lives. Welcome. Today we are going to explore subtext and unspoken conflict in dialogue. This is one of the most important craft skills for any writer. By the end, you will understand why characters speak indirectly. You will learn how to apply oblique dialogue techniques in your own scenes. And you will master the two-conversation structure that gives dialogue its depth. Let's begin with the core idea. We call it oblique action in dialogue. Oblique action means that characters pursue their goals through indirect speech. They assert dominance, express emotion, and chase what they want without ever saying it plainly. Let me give you some quick examples. Instead of saying, "I am angry at you," a character asks pointed questions about irrelevant details. Instead of saying, "I want your approval," they offer elaborate justifications for choices that no one even questioned. Instead of saying, "I am terrified," they become meticulously focused on some trivial task while the world burns around them. Now, here is something important to understand. Indirection is not evasion. It is not poor communication, and it is not bad writing. It is exactly how real humans operate in high-stakes conversations. We disguise vulnerability as aggression. We frame demands as questions. We bury confessions inside anecdotes. We test loyalty through casual remarks. And we wage quiet war through the precise calibration of politeness. So when your characters speak obliquely, they are behaving like real people. Now, let's get precise about what subtext actually is. And just as importantly, what it is not. Subtext is not hidden, meaning that requires a secret decoder ring. It is the emotional, psychological, or strategic dimension that operates at the same time as the surface conversation. Here is the key point. Both layers are real. Let me show you how this works. On the surface, a character asks, "Would you like more coffee?" Underneath, the meaning is, "I need you to stay, even though I cannot ask you directly." On the surface, a character says, "The meeting went fine." Underneath, the meaning is, "I am not telling you what happened, because I do not trust your reaction." On the surface, a character says, "That is an interesting perspective." Underneath, the meaning is, "You are completely wrong, but the power difference will not let me say so." In most cases, both speakers understand both layers. Neither one acknowledges the depth out loud. This creates a shared recognition. They both know they are performing elaborate theater, and they both know the other person knows. That mutual awareness is part of what makes the scene crackle. So why do characters speak this way? Why not just say what they mean? The answer is risk. Direct statement carries real danger. Saying what you mean exposes you to rejection. It creates confrontation. It reveals vulnerability. And sometimes it violates social codes. Let me walk you through a risk calculation. Imagine a character who feels attracted to someone. The direct version sounds like this. "I am attracted to you, and I want to know if you feel the same way." That invites outright rejection and total vulnerability. Now consider the oblique version. "I was thinking about going to that new restaurant downtown. Have you been?" This leaves an escape hatch. If it does not land, well, it was not technically an invitation. Face is saved. This is the whole logic of oblique speech. It provides plausible deniability. It allows retreat. It tests the waters before commitment. And it preserves relationships while still expressing difficult truths. Characters speak in angles because angles are safer. Now we arrive at the central technique. I call it the two-conversation structure. Effective subtext creates two conversations happening at the same time. The first is the surface conversation. This is what the characters are ostensibly discussing. The weather, the work, the logistics, the small talk. The second is the depth conversation. This is what they are actually negotiating. Power, affection, trust, loyalty, status, safety, and truth. Here is the goal you want to aim for. The most dynamic dialogue makes both conversations coherent. A reader could follow only the surface logic and find a complete, sensible exchange. A reader could follow only the depth logic and also find a complete exchange. But experiencing both at once is where richness and complexity live. Let me give you a concrete example. Two colleagues are discussing a project deadline. On the surface, they are doing practical planning. Underneath, they are negotiating who has authority. They are testing whether they are allies or competitors. They are quietly deciding how much to trust each other. The surface conversation stands alone as logistics. The depth conversation stands alone as a power negotiation. Together, they create layered meaning. That is your target. Now, let's build a practical toolkit. I want to walk you through specific types of oblique dialogue you can use right away. The first is the displacement conversation. Here, characters discuss topic A while actually processing topic B. The surface topic becomes a safe container for dangerous emotions. Picture a couple arguing intensely about how to load the dishwasher. On the surface, it is about proper dish placement, efficiency, and hygiene. Underneath, it is about who controls the domestic space. It is about whose standards matter. It is about accumulated resentment over respect and consideration. The dishwasher is not the real issue. It is the battleground where the real issue can be fought safely. This is extremely common in intimate relationships, where confronting the core problem directly feels too dangerous. The second type is the euphemistic dance. Here, characters use coded language that both of them understand, but neither will name directly. Imagine two business partners in a failing venture. They will not say, "This business is collapsing." Instead, one says, "We should probably start exploring our options." The other replies, "Options, right? Have you been thinking about options?" "Some," the first one says. "I have had a few conversations. Nothing formal." "Conversations," the other says. "That makes sense." Both of them know they are discussing dissolving the company. But they never say the word. The euphemisms preserve dignity while still accomplishing the communication. The third type is the test and probe. A character wants information but cannot ask for it directly, so they make statements designed to provoke a revealing response. Imagine a character who suspects their partner is lying. They will not say, "Are you lying to me?" Instead, they say, "That is funny. I ran into Sarah at the coffee shop, and she mentioned she has not seen you in weeks." Notice that this is not a question, but it functions exactly like one. It creates space for the partner to confirm or contradict, all without a direct accusation. And here is the craft detail. The response pattern reveals as much as the content. The tone, the speed, the level of detail. All of it becomes information. The fourth type is the status transaction. Every conversation is also a negotiation of relative status. Characters use linguistic markers to establish, maintain, challenge, or defer to a hierarchy. These markers include politeness level, directness, certainty, who speaks first, and who speaks more. Consider a junior employee pitching an idea to a senior executive. They cannot be too assertive, because that challenges authority. But they cannot be too deferential, because that looks incompetent. Every word choice signals status awareness. Listen to the difference. I was thinking, that is tentative and deferential. The data clearly shows that is confident and assertive. Would you be open to considering that is requesting permission? We should implement, that is, assuming authority. The content of the proposal matters, but the status negotiation often determines whether the proposal is even heard. The fifth type is the confession disguised. A character embeds what they cannot say directly into a story, a hypothetical, or a discussion about someone else. Picture a teenager who is being bullied. They say, "There is this kid at school having a really hard time. Some other kids are pretty mean to him. I was wondering what someone should do if they knew about it." The hypothetical other person is, of course, the teen. The parent may recognize this and respond to the real situation, or the parent may choose to maintain the fiction. Either way, communication happens, without the raw vulnerability of a direct confession. The sixth type is weaponized courtesy. This is extreme politeness used as a weapon. Listen to this. I appreciate your perspective. It is always fascinating to hear how people interpret situations when they have not had access to all the relevant information. Of course, I am sure you were doing your best with what you knew. On the surface, that is gracious acknowledgement. Underneath, it says, you are ignorant and incompetent. The excessive courtesy becomes the insult. The target knows they have been attacked, but they have no socially acceptable way to respond. Objecting to politeness makes you look defensive and unreasonable. This is asymmetric warfare. The social contract itself prevents retaliation against courtesy. The seventh type is silence as statement. Sometimes the most oblique dialogue is no dialogue at all. Imagine this exchange. I got the promotion. Then, silence. You could at least say something. Congratulations, but the tone makes the word meaningless. The silence communicates disapproval or hurt more effectively than any speech could. And the hollow congratulation confirms it. Strategic silence, deliberate pauses, withheld responses, and conspicuous topic avoidance all communicate without a single direct statement. Now let's connect all of this to one final governing principle. Power dynamics. Power determines who can say what to whom. High-status speakers are allowed to be more direct. Low-status speakers are forced to be more oblique. And here is the crucial part. This is usually not a conscious choice. It is social navigation happening automatically. A boss can say to an employee, "This needs to be redone." No elaboration. No justification. The same employee speaking upward would have to wrap the same message in layers of softening and deference. So when you build a scene, ask yourself who holds the power. That answer shapes how directly each character is allowed to speak. Let's bring it all together. Subtext is not a trick or a puzzle. It is the simultaneous surface and depth conversation that mirrors how real people talk. Characters speak obliquely because direct speech carries risk. The two-conversation structure lets you build scenes where the surface and the depth both make complete sense. And the specific tools give you concrete ways to do it. Displacement, the euphemistic dance; test and probe, the status transaction; the disguised confession; weaponized courtesy; and silence as statement. When you write your next scene, try this. Decide what your characters are really negotiating underneath. Then let them talk about almost anything else. Keep both conversations alive at once. That is how you create dialogue that feels authentic, layered, and alive.